Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity, your recovery-focused podcast with your host, Keegan. Today, we are figuring out how sorcery really works in the day-to-day and why it's so potent. We're going to find out how to turn your darkest trauma into your loudest laugh. Justin, why don't you catch us up on what you've been up to since the last time you were here? Because, I mean, I can only imagine how many waves you've created in the recovery world.
Yeah, it's fun to see, it's fun to kind of see, a year ago this time, I was a complete online ghost, and I prided myself with that. I had deleted all forms of social media back in 2020 when everything got super toxic with all the politics and the COVID and all that stuff, and it was just destroying my world. It really was. So my solution was just to delete it all because I just wanted to be free of it. I didn't want it in any way, but it was like a horse wearing blinders. They put blinders on a horse because they run a better race. So those years were transformative and amazing, and we kind of talked about some of the things that happened during those years. But in the the book has been about 9 months. It's been really fun to see. There would be kind of created a little bit of a buzz. I got back on social media begrudgingly. I have Instagram now, so that's one thing. I always forget to mention it on podcasts and stuff. So it's a slow, I'm starting at nothing, so it's slowly climbing. But it's fun to kind of see that and interact with people and have them email me or contact me. That's fun, and kind of seeing all the podcasts pop up. Like, I can Google my name now and all this stuff comes up, whereas it was nothing. I mean, a year ago wasn't a thing, and I was happy about that. But it's fun to see because it's all good stuff, it's nothing but good stuff that's coming up, reviews of the book and things like that. And I submitted it for awards. They announced those in, I think, summer. It'd be fun to see, for specific awards. And I sent out to publishers and literary agents this last week because I hadn't done that because I didn't think anyone would listen to me, or you look me up online and if nothing comes up, they're gonna just so I didn't even bother. So I self-published the book, and so now I have plans for another book and a series of books, kind of like a sorcerer's guide to a sorcerer's guide to dating, a sorcerer's guide to parenting, and Sorcery 201, which is another. I want to train to be a shaman. So I have plans. So I sent this stuff out. So it's exciting to see. My main thing is I just have to let things unfold. I can't force, you can't force a flower to open, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't force it and say, open and tear out the petals, you're going to kill it. You have to let it unfold, right? So that's what I'm doing. And that's a good suggestion for anyone in life. Just let things unfold. Don't force. I mean, you got to get out there and do stuff, but stop trying to force. Just let it unfold.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's so good to hear that you've done so much in such a short amount of time, and getting that online presence definitely is something that will help get recovery and sorcery out there, and it's pretty cool to be able to Google yourself and be like, oh, hey, I'm actually on Google. What? That's kind of weird. With everything going on, a lot of us just kind of maybe lose sight of what recovery is. And like you said, we have to let things unfold. And I was literally just talking to myself about how I'm trying to do certain things in life, and it's like I'm trying to just hit the speed button on it, just go faster. And I can't do that. I have to let things grow. I have to, if I plant a seed, I have to let the seed do its thing. I can tend to the soil. Things just go on their way, and whether that seed germinates or not is not up to me. And so I feel that that's kind of how life is. We set intentions and we either go with them or let them kind of steer us, Real quick for everyone out there, can we dive into the wrongs? Because last time we covered them, what they were. So why don't we figure out what they are and how they work in the day to day?
Yeah. So that's good stuff. So yeah, like I said there, it's the inspiration from the rungs before it was of the 12 steps of AA, because I wanted to create something, because I saw a lot of healing happen. I think there's, I probably got into this last time, but there's some good things about it, but there's some not so good things too. And some things I personally don't agree with. And it starts with number one being powerless. Forget that part. Forget that one at all. Yeah. So, right that, I ran into a brick wall right away, so, but so instead of, moving forward, rungs, you move up, because a bird has a better perspective on things than a worm. So it's, it's a perspective, and it kind of, they're very fluid, and, they're not rigid like the steps. That's the one thing, I didn't vibe with AA is it's so, religious, without being religious. It's kind of disguised religion,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
it's very rigid in that
Yep.
there, institutions that don't embrace change,
Mhm.
I'm wary of.
Yeah.
Religion, you're not going to go in changing things and change. You're not, and AA is the same way. You're not going
Mhm.
to you're not going to go in and be like, what if we make some changes to the steps? I mean, is this really? I mean, this is 120 years ago? I mean, like, it's just not going to happen. So
Uh-huh.
these things that don't embrace change, because there's one constant in life, and that's change.
Yeah.
That's where this came in. It was like, maybe I can, think about something a little bit different. So
Mhm.
the rungs, they're the first one, and we can get into that, is
Okay.
shadow work. Are you
Okay.
familiar with the shadow?
Yep. I'm
Yeah.
very familiar with the shadow, and the most recent way I described it to someone was think of the cartoon version of Peter Pan, where his shadow is off doing its own thing, and he kind of needs his shadow to be whole, but he has to kind of get control of it to really be himself. And like a lot of the times, I feel like our shadow, if we're not aware at least of it, it's often causing mischief. And we come
Hmm.
back and we're like, ah, shit, I got to pick up this mess now. What do I do about that?
Hmm.
So,
Yep. It is. It's about embracing the shadow, because, it's, if you don't embrace it, then you're kind of creating the same feelings and emotions that make up the shadow. If
hmm,
you're getting, angry at it, well, now you're creating anger over something that just is. And
yep.
so part of the shadow is that fear and anger and limiting beliefs
Hmm.
and all these things that kind of make us up, but they're not bad things.
No.
They're it's just, it served a purpose at a
Hmm.
time in my life, and but that time is over. I no longer need it as much. And like
Hmm.
last time I said, it's taking care of the shadow. It's in the back seat. It's, I said it's either driving the car, it's in the passenger seat, or it's in the back seat. And
Uh-huh.
for me, obviously, if it's driving the car, it's gonna want to drive off a cliff every time. It's gonna
Yeah.
aim for the cliff every time. So when the shadow, and there's been times that it's been that way. It has
Hmm.
been driving off the cliff. And so, but and there were times in my life, for me, it was that was my 20s. Okay.
Hmm.
So we can dive in a little bit deeper, because
Okay.
we're diving in. So my 20s, that was the time when I was driving the car, and I just could not function in
Hmm.
life at all. I was, there were weeks I was without a home. Like, I was spitting on park benches, and in places that were not good at all. And
Yeah.
there were times in jail, because it was just drugs and DUIs and nothing. No I somehow avoided the felonies. Not that I didn't commit any. It's just that I didn't get caught for any. But it's, and nothing, super violent or anything. It just was just a lot of drug possessions and
Hmm.
DUIs and this and that. And so it was never prison time, but jail.
Yeah.
It just not, either way. It's not fun. It
Yeah.
just, even 24 hours in jail it feels like 2 weeks. Um, so yeah, getting in there, going to the halfway houses and rehab. And kind of the first time I went to rehab, it was in my late 20s, and I kind of figured, it was like, just get me clean. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not experienced. I am struggling because I have all these drugs in my body, and I go through withdrawal, and I need more drugs, and just get me clean and I'll be fine. So I did not pay attention to any of the spiritual aspect of, rehab or anything like that,
No.
that whole thing. And so the
Uh-huh.
first, and somehow I lasted 3 months. I lasted 3 months. I'm
Well,
really proud of myself. I know,
yeah.
that's a long time, but then I was right back in it. And
Mm,
so, you know, that second time was, I took things more seriously. I was like, okay,
mhm.
the spiritual thing, this is crazy enough. I don't know everything,
Yeah.
apparently. So, because I'm right back in here, after 90 days. So
Uh,
I kind of opened myself up to the spiritual aspect. And that's when the whole kind of Christian AA thing came in. So I was like,
mhm.
okay. So at this point, I was open to this, and I was open to the spirit, and I was open to these things. So for me, and it worked, up until it didn't. So it was, 5 or 6 years, but that's what I realized the shadow, looking back, had switched to the passenger seat, because
Ah.
my life was nothing but mediocrity. It was, but
Huh.
I thought it was great
Yeah.
because I wasn't like on the street or like in jail, and it was
Mhm.
like life was amazing. But looking
Yeah.
back on it, I was extremely mediocre, and I was being kept down by these beliefs in religion and things like that, the Christian religion that kind of tells you, God is out there. I
Mhm.
now believe that, it's not about letting God in, it's about letting God out, that we are
Uh-huh.
all, creations, and we're all made up of the matter of God.
Mhm.
Everything is just this one thing,
Yep.
everything,
Yep.
and it's, everything is atoms,
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah.
like, there's all this kind of stuff came to me, and later in life, and these beliefs. But while my shadow was in the passenger seat, it was really limiting, because it was like talking to me, as someone in the passenger seat is still pretty involved in the conversation, like they're talking to you, and so you're listening to things, and so it really kept me at a mediocre life. I was struggling with relationships, couldn't hold down a
Mhm.
relationship. I was, in my job, I was very mediocre. I was not trying to be anything special. Just, yeah, I'll show up, you give me a paycheck, I'm leaving. Like, so it was just a really mediocre life. And so that's when I kind of realized, after, and that's when things started to twist with the whole religion thing, is my mother got
Mhm.
terminally ill.
Mhm.
And that's, of course, traumatizing and sad. And so the year she was dying, her body was dwindling away, her mind, dementia. It's, very hard to have someone go through that. But what really screwed with me was the programming my Christian bullshit religion was giving me, that she was going to hell. She never went to church. She never
Ugh.
is nothing. She never,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she had her issues. She had her
Mhm.
issues. It was a tough upbringing with her, because she was a very devoid of emotion, essentially. Didn't understand the concept of love, didn't say it, didn't hug me a lot. And but she was a kind person. She internalized everything, and she didn't ever abuse me. She would kind of go into her room and shut the door. And so she'd kind of these depressive, episodes, and she had her own
Mhm.
issues. But the fact that someone was telling me that she's, eternally damned, and that really, that
Yeah.
really that really screwed with me. and
Mhm.
and the whole year, as just, so the trauma was 10 times worse, because here I'm thinking she's damned, she's
Yeah.
she's going to hell, like. And no
Mhm.
pastor, I'd sit down with him and say, is she going to hell? And they said, well, maybe you can turn her before she dies. So they wouldn't tell me she is, but they wouldn't tell me she wasn't either. So it was like this real bullshit.
Yeah.
So after she passed, I just decided to stop believing that crap.
Yeah.
I just decided it was just like, that's not true at all. I don't think any of
Yeah.
that's true. I think
Uh-huh.
that's been programmed, and I think it's for, a fear control thing to keep people coming
Mhm.
back and opening their wallets. And
Yep.
I think there's, I believe in the multi dimensions, and there is a dimension of negativity, because negativity is real, but I don't think people go there, because I think we're all split in one consciousness. I think we get
Mhm.
tries again. If you
Yep.
didn't learn your lesson this time, you get another try.
Mhm.
So, I don't believe in this internal damnation crap.
Mm-mm.
And that was part of my shadow too. That was part of the passenger shadow, like talking that fear and talking that smack in my,
Mm.
and keeping me back.
Mhm.
And so once I kind of had my bliss attack and my awakening, that's when I realized all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And that's when the shadow finally moved back into the passenger seat, where I keep it lovingly, and I check on it, and I make sure that it's doing okay and how it's doing. And, I always tell people to, how to start with the whole shadow work thing, is to name your shadow,
Mm.
because it is not you.
No.
You are the awareness of the shadow. So, that's the whole thing with, I'm an alcoholic. Well, no, you're not. You are
Mm-mm.
the awareness of the alcoholic. You
Yeah.
are not. That is the whole thing with keeping someone down. It's like, no, you're not. You are so much more than your worst trait. Like, you're so much more. And it's hard for me. I like the community aspect of AA, and I would never tell anyone not to go. And the community thing is just, they got that down, man. And that's a beautiful thing to see.
Mhm.
But, I struggle with hearing this powerless thing, and I'm an alcoholic, and just this low, like, keep people
Mhm.
down. Like, I just don't agree with that at all. And, it's nothing against Bill Wilson, because, if you think about it,
Mhm.
if he's trying to create something, he sees that this is a spiritual malady, right?
Mm-hmm.
That he sees that, and so he creates something that serves the soul. But when
Mm-hmm.
he's creating it, he uses the Bible and Christianity as that foundation because
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing else. I mean, if you think
Mm-hmm.
about 1920s America, the New Age movement that I'm so into, the Buddhists,
Mm-hmm.
these are things that they're not in America. New Age didn't exist for 30 years down the line.
Uh-huh.
Muslims were Muslims, Jews were Jews, and if you wanted to be spiritual, you had to be Christian. So
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have a choice. I don't blame him at all for this. That's the basis he used because that's all he had.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if he were alive today, it would be something more like this, where it's not attached to any sort of religion or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so yeah, the shadow, again, naming the shadow is really important. And I don't know if I got into last time. Did I get into what I named mine?
I don't think you did actually. I know that was one of the questions I was going to ask, so I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. So there's a lot of, I use pop culture parables and technology metaphors, and I try to speak to younger males because younger males are struggling right now, and they really,
Mm-hmm.
really need something like this. So,
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies is, back in the day was the Tarantino classic, True Romance. Great movie. Great. Have you seen True Romance?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. It's a must see. You got to go back and see it. So he didn't direct it; he wrote it. But it is all-star cast: Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper, Brad Pitt, James Gandolfini is in it, Christian Slater. Like it is stacked with people. But in the movie, Brad Pitt, he plays a smaller role in it. But he plays this stoner character named Floyd. And in the movie, he's just a couch dweller. Like he doesn't, the main character, the more central character, he pays the rent, but he lets Floyd stay on his couch because he loves him like a brother and he won't kick him
Mm-hmm.
out. But Floyd
Mm-hmm.
doesn't pay rent, he doesn't do chores, he sits on the couch and smokes weed all day. And that's all he does. And so my shadow is Floyd. And my shadow doesn't contribute a whole lot to my life. He's my couch dweller. He doesn't continue, but I gotta love him like a brother. I can't
Uh-huh.
kick him out.
Uh-huh.
So that's where I found such fun. Is just like, yeah, Floyd. Okay, yep, Floyd's my shadow. He doesn't contribute a lot to my life, but I love him like a brother, and I'm not going to kick him out. But that's the one place I always tell people to start. And
Mm-hmm.
another thing, the best way to have the healthiest relationship I see of someone with a shadow is Eminem. Right? Like,
Oh
think
yeah.
about that.
Uh-huh.
Eminem has the most healthy relationship with his shadow because he's obviously named it. His Slim
Mm-hmm.
Shady. It's not me. He continues
Yep.
to say this is not me.
Yep.
I don't think he's ever heard him call it his shadow, but he knows that this is a side of him that is not actually him,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
he is able to release this shadow in
Mm-hmm.
form of Slim Shady, and get all this verbal onslaught out,
Yeah.
without. And so he's able to just deal with his shadow. And not everyone is a rapper or a singer, but
Mm-hmm.
he deals with it in the way he knows how to deal with it. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously he's been through hell when he was
Mm-hmm.
younger, growing up in the trailer parks and the abuse and just the horrible things he's been through. So
Mm-hmm.
he has this nasty shadow, and
Yep.
so, but he deals with it in such a healthy way, like I see that and it's just like, yeah, Eminem, he knows what he's doing. He really knows what he's doing. And we
Mm-hmm.
all can deal with our shadows in healthy ways. It's obviously it's not going to be rap for me, but, just getting that aggression out and, you feel the shadow coming up and just,
Mm-hmm.
go to the gym and hit a punching bag or, there are ways to deal with it. And calming techniques too. Sometimes you just got to get it out. Sometimes you just got to
Yes.
let it out, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Like as long as it's not directed at another human or an animal or even a
Uh-huh.
plant. Let's just avoid anything living. But sometimes you just got to and go for that. But other
Uh-huh.
times, you can just use grounding techniques and come back down. It's just you'll know the situation when it comes up. But there are healthy
Mm-hmm.
ways to deal with your shadow, and he's got the healthiest one, I think.
He did find that creative spark, and he transmuted his pain into music and stuff,
It's
and
beautiful.
that's yeah, it's
Beautiful.
amazing. And it's whenever you hear like turning pain into purpose or something, that's a great example of it. And I think that a lot of us though are just always running from our shadow or are afraid of the shadow because it's kind of uncomfortable dealing with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. But what you resist persists. If you don't
Ooh.
heal it, if you don't feel it, you don't heal it. So
Mhm.
it's, it's gonna, if you continue to run from it, and that's where and that's where things can get, people don't want to go through that because it's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 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 emotional. I don't like to call it, like hard necessarily, but it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But to sit with your shadow, and bring up the pain that
Mhm.
is there, is the
Mhm.
only way to do it. Otherwise, it's going to be directed at different things, but it
Mhm.
really has nothing to do with those things. I mean, the whole Karen thing is just, I feel so bad for all the ladies out there actually named Karen. I can't believe, like, I mean, to be named Karen, like, I'm so sorry for that happening. I had nothing to do with it, but man, that sucks. But you see it, and you see it's guys and girls, but it's,
Uh-huh.
just getting upset over the tiniest little stupid thing. It's got
Mhm.
nothing to do with that. It's
Yeah.
that is the shadow emerging, finding something to focus on and then emerging in that situation.
Mhm.
It's the whole road rage thing is a great example. It's, someone
Ooh,
cuts
yeah.
you off, like, who cares? Just, like,
Mhm.
God bless you. I've cut people off. Who cares? It happens. Especially, and most of the time, it's people that just aren't simply paying attention.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, it is an asshole, but
Yeah.
even then, like, just know that they're really, if someone really does it on purpose and they're flipping you out, that is someone who's really, really struggling.
Mhm.
And so, to make that be, to let that get to you, and then
Mhm.
you're focused, and then you're driving, you're following them, and you're tailgating them, and you're turning off the side, and then who knows what can happen. But you've now focused all the pain and hurt from your
Mhm.
father leaving when you were a child or abusing you, is now
Mhm.
focused on this one individual who doesn't deserve it.
Mhm.
And so that's, that, and you see it in society all the time. And unfortunately with cameras now, you're catching people at their worst moment. I feel so
Mhm.
bad for these people that, because, like, they look like total jerks, but I
Mhm.
know, I know that I call myself a little bit Deepak, a little bit Tupac, like, and that's the shadow and the divine, the shadow and the sorcerer. And
Mhm.
I made my Instagram photo. I made an AI picture, and I had to take my picture, and
Huh.
I had to do a photo of half Jesus, half Joker. And that's the two sides of me, right? Like, there's
Huh.
the chaotic, destructive side, and the angelic divine side,
Mhm.
and what side dominates is the side you feed more. And
Mhm.
that's what the natives always say, the light wolf and the dark wolf, and that's a very
Mhm.
famous native saying. And the one that dominates is the one you feed more. And there are times
Mhm.
in my life where the Joker dominated, and that's was just, I was a real bargain bin Joker. Let me tell you, I was a real, yeah. So it's creating chaos on very, very small, stupid levels. Like,
Mhm.
I remember one time I was really, I was on some kind of Xanax blackout or something, and then I
Eesh.
went, I woke up in my apartment one day, and I found this big, large, twofold sign outside of my apartment that said, um, book sale, all books $1. So I had stolen this sign. For what reason, I don't know. And how I got it back to my apartment is a mystery, a complete mystery. But it's one of those things. It's like, it's the shadow is just like, just do something to create chaos. This is not,
Huh.
one of these. This is not. I didn't steal this for my benefit. I obviously stole this in a moment to create chaos. And that is the only reason why I stole it. So it's like, looking back on these things, man, it's just like,
Huh.
wow, wow, yeah, the Joker was really in charge then. Like I said, definitely dollar store Joker, definitely dollar store
Mhm.
Joker. Not on his level of things. It was real, like, stupid little things like that, like
Uh-huh.
dollar store Joker style. But it was still the same mindset of just
Mhm.
wanting to create chaos and just wanting to piss someone off. Someone's
Mhm.
gonna wake up and be like, "Where the fuck is my sign?" Like,
Mhm.
and for why did I do that? And why did I bring it all the way home? Like, it's just, I'm grateful to be sober. I can tell you that. That's for sure. But that is the shadow. That is the shadow driving the car, and it is going to drive it off that cliff.
Yep. Thank you for sharing that, 'cause that's a great story. And I've had my own run in with Xanax, and yeah, there's many days of waking up and you're just like, what the? Oh shit, it's March. What happened to February? you
Yeah.
know.
It's bad stuff. It's, I
Yeah.
mean, and it really took me off because it's like a drunk pill. It's like
Uh-huh.
you don't really feel much of a hangover. There's no
Mm-mm.
calories involved. There's
Nope.
no throwing up. And
Mm-mm.
like, I remember the first few times Xanax, and it was a doctor who prescribed it to me.
Yep. Same.
I didn't need to always
Mm-mm.
go to, the shady drug dealer.
Nope.
My other drug dealer accepted credit cards,
Well.
he had a fish tank and magazines to look at while I waited. That
Yeah.
was my first string drug dealer. My
Yep.
second string was the one I called when I couldn't get my first string.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the society we kind of live. We got to be aware
Mm-hmm.
of what we're taking and intaking. We have
Mm-hmm.
to, because they don't necessarily, they've been, and it's not necessarily their fault, because they've just been programmed by society to listen and prescribe, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
listen and prescribe. You're not going to go to a psychiatrist's office and not leave with pills. So when I was having all my crazy stuff as a kid and a teenager, and that's what they told you need to take him to a doctor. He's got some
Mm-hmm.
issues, and
Yep.
yeah, putting me on Adderall and Xanax was a really great idea. Like, it's,
Yeah.
like, it's just like, oh, this is great. Let's keep doing this.
No, no. Yeah, it
So
just
yeah.
it hits that little part of you that's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to feel like. Okay, you
Yep.
know.
But yeah, it's gone. Yeah, the pain
Uh-huh.
and like that, and that's where the spiritual bankruptcy. That's when you know you're spiritual bankrupt, is when you get addicted to stuff like that, because all of a sudden, like, everything is okay. So it's like, and that's how you know there's an issue going on, because everything is all of a sudden okay. And
Yep.
there's so many things, right? There's so many
Yeah.
things that we can take our attention. It's not just drugs and alcohol. It's sex, gambling. The phone is the biggest one. Food and the phone are probably the
Mm.
two biggest addictions that I see out there. But it can be anything, just to take us
Mhm.
out of feeling.
Mhm.
If you can't if you have a phone and you can't put it down for more
That.
for more than 10 minutes or something, you got to pick it back up and get back on.
Uh,
Like, that's your soul calling for healing. There's something going on with your shadow, and it's like, and that's how it's like you're ignoring the pain. By
mhm.
ignoring that pain, you're continuing to make it worse.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's the biggest thing, I think, with people these days. Is it's just, wow, it's everywhere. Can't get I see people, it's not just girls either, guys that can't get through like a set of leg extensions without like checking
Mhm.
Instagram or something, and it's just,
Yep.
oh, man, it's sad. It's just
It is.
sad. It's just like, you just put it down, let it go.
Yep.
Like, just be. If you're
Just be.
constantly being a human doing, you can never be a human being.
Yeah. And I love that because it's one of those things that I forget who said it, but they were talking about embrace the bored, just embrace it sometimes, because we don't need to be go, 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 go. And kind of like what you were saying, it makes me think of like the original meaning of the word demon. It wasn't a bad thing, it was a guiding spirit. Whenever I stop and listen to Shadow or try to figure myself out, if I'm listening to it, it kind of will inform me of what the pain is that I'm operating from. And that's a hard thing because, I mean, whenever we're adults, whenever we're growing up and stuff, we like to think that, oh, we're mature. We know what the fuck's going on in the world. And no, a lot of the times we don't. And it does take a lot of experience. And I think that it comes about in those maladaptive traits. We learn to survive. And then after a point, it doesn't serve us anymore, like you said, and we need to figure out when is that point where it stopped serving us and what can we do to replace that or change it a little bit. And it's those small steps. Is that kind of the work that you do with your shadow, is just changing the small things like one step at a time?
Yeah. So, well, and it's realizing again, which is which.
Mm,
The shadow is the reactor, and
mm-hmm,
like the sorcerer is the responder. So you're
mm,
always going to react.
yeah.
You're always going, like, in the moment things, like, there's like an energy that'll come up and make you
Mm-hmm,
angry, and
yep.
like that, like this person kind of, but how long you stay in that energy is up to
Mm-hmm,
you.
mm,
You can react, that's fine, but how
mm,
long are you going to stay in that reaction? And
yeah.
some people, and that's the problem with the shadows, like they get cut off on the way to work, and they keep that energy, and then their entire day is ruined.
Mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm.
can, that can, a bad mood can turn into your personality if you allow it to.
Yeah.
So, and that's what, that's what a lot of times happens. It's just, trauma starts to happen, and then they let it seep in, and then a day turns into another day, and then a week, and then a few weeks. And then, so now, your mood has now turned into who you are, and now you are your trauma. So there's a lot of people walking around that are living their trauma
Mhm.
every day, and because
Yeah.
they're not aware of what's going on. So
Mhm.
awareness is the key to the shadow. But it's about, you know, understanding what's going on, respond, react, but it's also like sitting with the discomfort, and because
Mhm.
that's what's going to get it out. You have to sit with it, and meditation is obviously going to bring it up. And
Mhm.
I have meditations where I'm kind of focused on the future, like good meditations, but then there's times when I just kind of sit in silence and just will feel and just kind of bring
Mm.
things up and bring up disturbing memories and kind
Mhm.
of let those process through. Whatever they process through, it can tighten up your body. You can get tears. It's
Mhm.
whatever's happening, and you don't have to do it for long. Like, just try for 5 minutes. And I'm not doing this all the time, but I will take 5 minutes. And it's not even every day. It's just and stuff will kind of come up so that
Mhm.
I'm not holding on and we're keeping all these traumas. We just keep them, and then they
Mhm.
add up, and then it's like it just boils over eventually if you just
Yeah.
hold on to all this crap that's happened.
Huh.
So yeah, it's really about that, and it's super important to understand like how important it is to heal, because it can not only ruin your life, it can ruin
Mhm.
the lives of every people around you. Like, I was in rehab with a native guy out here in Arizona, and um, he just had a really awful situation. A lot of them do with they've been treated very poorly, and a lot of them have a lot of money without anything to do. Um, whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but that's the way it is. So, they were, he had a very alcoholic mother and father in jail. And so, you have to understand, her programming was her shadow was just going crazy all the time, and it was obviously affecting him, and these nasty things she would say to him, and kind of before seven, our limiting beliefs in that part of the shadow, a lot of it is programmed before seven, because we
Yeah.
have no filter for what's real and what's not.
Mm.
So when you're told something under seven, you just accept it as truth. So one of the things he was told was that he was just like his father, and so he ended up just like his father. So he was in and out of rehab and couldn't stay sober. And I was in rehab with him, and he was on probation or parole. He was wearing an ankle bracelet, and he left. He didn't even last 30 days. He jumped the wall and left. So and that's and he's just going to continue in this sad cycle over and over and over and over. And so his life was, anyone can wake up and start to heal at any time, but his life was destroyed by, his shadow was created by someone else's with shadow. And so it's really, really, really important to understand the the shadow and how it works, and all these and everything that makes it up, because it's made up of both limiting beliefs and our traumas, and they kind of go in together and make up this side of us that is, just needs attention. Because I
Yeah.
never say it's bad, but it
Yeah.
needs attention. And so many
Mhm.
people don't understand where their lives are, suck. And
Ugh.
it's because of, they're not healing, because you can't.
Mhm.
Healing is an active process.
Yep.
It
And
is.
it
You can't.
hurts.
Time does not. The bullshit of that statement, "Time heals all," that is not true at all. It
No.
is. It is. It takes active healing. It is not
Mhm.
just time, because
Nope.
when a trauma happens to us, where it gets put is in the subconscious, in the shadow. So, that's where time puts it. It stops from the. We think we're healed, right?
Mhm.
Because we're not experiencing maybe something all the time. Like, when a trauma
Mhm.
first happens, you're in the trauma, and it feels like time has, okay, well, now I've healed. Well, no, it's just in the subconscious. And now, just like a broken arm, if you
Mhm.
don't heal that broken arm properly, um it's when you touch the arm, you're going to get a reaction. And
Mhm.
so, just like the shadow, you touch something in the shadow, and this trauma that hasn't healed, you're going to get a
Mhm.
reaction. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing. So people with anger issues, and it's
Mhm.
all just it's all coming from that shadow, and an addiction to those emotions. They've been running the
Mhm.
shadow, and anger is a very charging, addicting um, emotion. And so people, I had an ex-girlfriend, and like she was so good in for me in terms of seeing how damaging the shadow is, because she was really,
Hmm.
really messed up. Like, really, she
Oh,
had so many things that had happened to her when she was little, and she wasn't interested in healing. And so, I mean, she took our infant son, and I still haven't seen him for 3 years. She went to
ah,
Boston to visit family, and then just cut off,
what?
like just turned off her phone, like stopped answering emails, like we just moved. So I mean, yeah, and that's another example of the shadow that, yeah, and it's hard. It's a very strange grief in that I can't completely let go of it, and he's out there, and it has nothing to do with him. He's an infant, so I'll be there, and I have a feeling someday we'll be reunited, and it'll be great. But that's another example of just she she lives her life like a cornered animal. So, a cornered animal never knows if you're there to help or hurt or kill it, or so they're going to react to everything. It has no idea. And that's that shadow, but that's that reacting of just, and she just reacted and just left one day and just took everything, just left and just left all her stuff and just was gone. So, it's just, that's the danger in not healing the shadow. And she would find things to get angry at because she's used to feeling angry, and I wasn't doing anything really to make her angry, so she'd find things to get angry at or make things up in her head, like, you know yeah, create the chaos. You came home from late, you must be cheating on me.
Uh,
Yeah, late from work. It's like, what?
yeah,
Where
that's
are you coming up with this? It's like, so, like, it has
uh-huh.
nothing to do with anything. Like,
Hmm.
I would let her use my phone because I had nothing to hide. But like,
Mm.
and I'd be like, what are you, because and now I realize it was just because she was so used to being angry that she'd find things to get angry at. It could be dishes in the sink, or, once you're used to feeling that, you know, not feeling that feels strange. So now you need to find things, and that's another great example of importance of healing, because it can, she really screwed things up, and I've gotten to a point where I'm totally forgive her, and I don't, because I understand her. I understand. It's like, oh, she's a corner. All these things kind of came to me in meditation, and when you can kind of connect to that source energy in that field, you receive messages in meditation, and my understanding for her and writing all this about the shadow has just, I totally forgive her. I wish she would, forgive herself and be able to move on for his sake. I don't ever want to be with her again, but but for his sake, to at least, but it's just, I think it'll happen at some point. But that is another great example of the danger of an unhealed shadow. And she did not want to face those demons, that because they can be scary, but you got to remember, feelings, we label these feelings as bad, but maybe they're just feelings, and
Yep.
they might feel uncomfortable, but if you're labeling them as bad, you're
Hmm.
you're creating
The same
the
story.
judgment. Yeah, and well, and the
Hmm.
judgment too. It's like, because
Yep.
if you're sad and then you're angry that you're sad, well, now you're hysterical. So
Yeah.
it's being able to feel the emotions, like when you're bringing them up, and just letting them be without judging them, because
Hmm.
the reason we suffer from these emotions is because we're judging them and making them worse and turning them up. If we find a way, like, to just see the thoughts and feelings and just let them pass, then
Hmm.
we're dealing with things in a healthier way.
Yeah, I think that that's where transmutation really comes into play, And I'm really sorry to hear about that because, damn, that is a shitty situation. But I'm just glad that you've been able to work on the forgiveness aspect because it's crucial to healing, because it's kind of like holding on to a hot coal and expecting someone else to get burned with it. And it just doesn't work that way. And I think anger is a really predominant feeling whenever it comes to being hurt because, and this is more personal experience, I suppose, but anger gives me a sense of control, you know, and
Hmm.
so it's like whenever someone's hurt, they want to control that situation and create the chaos, gives them a reason to have a situation that is now under what they created instead of trying to respond to something else. Like you said, it is addictive, and I think that that's why a lot of people have a hard time letting go of it. But you also said that the mood becomes the personality. So whenever you try to change that mood, you're essentially changing your identity, and people have a hard time doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah,
something
it
that,
takes time
yeah, it takes time, and it, like you said,
and
it's
effort.
that, yeah, it's that active effort. We have to be intentional with what we're trying to do in our thoughts, and we can't shame ourselves out of we can't shame ourselves into healing, because if we do that, like you said, we're telling ourselves the same story and or giving it more ammo. So dealing with the shadow is amazing in that aspect, because you figure out who you really are. What is the second wrong?
That I call it a call for inaction. So it's
Mm,
the famous phrase, this is a call for action, call to action. This is a
okay.
call for inaction,
Yeah.
and that's meditation. That's why
Mm.
it's the second one, and how important that is. But that is how to hack the subconscious, mine the subconscious, and get to all those things that you no longer maybe hold true or believe, or there's one we have one energy, and
Mm.
when we feel fear, that energy is being filtered through BS or belief
Mm.
systems that
Yeah.
may no longer serve us. So
Mm.
whenever you're feeling fear, and I'm not talking about like fear, like sitting up, standing on a cliff and feeling that's real. That's Don't worry
Legit.
about that. That's there for a reason.
Yeah.
Leave that fear. We want that. But
Uh-huh.
the majority of our fears are not legitimate fears.
Mm-hmm.
And AA had a great phrase I heard. Fear is false evidence appearing real. The acronym, false evidence appearing real. And when
Uh-huh.
faced with fear, we can face everything and recover, or fuck
Mm-hmm.
everything and run. And so there's definitely one choice is better than the other there. And
Yeah.
to be able to kind of sit and mine the subconscious and figure out those limiting beliefs, so that when we're feeling fear, that it's just that energy is being filtered through these limiting beliefs and things, and we're feeling fear. Whereas joy, it's that same energy is being filtered through things that we do resonate with and we do hold true. And so
Hmm.
it's all one energy. And so it's finding those things. If you're living in a lot of fear,
Mm-hmm.
it's time to sit down. It's a call for inaction.
Yeah.
If you live a life of fear, and I see a lot of people that are, there's one woman that walks in the park every once in a while, and she looks like she's about to rob a bank. I mean, she is full on, like, sunglasses, big hat, like long sleeves, and like a face cover. You can't. She looks like she's about to rob a bank, and obviously this is someone who is scared to death of the sun. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
other reason for this. I mean, this is
Mm-hmm.
Arizona. I'll see her out there, in 80, 90-degree heat, and just full gear, and
Uh-huh.
she's just living this life. She obviously loves walking, which is great,
Yeah.
but I'm not even sure if it's a she. I think her body size looks like it's a she, but I'm not even
Uh.
positive of that because you can't see anything. So it's just these people just living in fear, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
not healthy. And there's reasons for all these traumas, and you have to, and sometimes there's reasons, and sometimes there's not. It can be just a complete, you could just be scared of airplanes for no reason.
Yeah.
There's just,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a reason, but you have to kind of get into that meditation and find those things. That's kind of how it works with the shadow. And obviously
Mm-hmm.
meditation can go many different ways, because you can kind of, you can
Yeah.
use it to relax. You can use
Mm-hmm.
it to mind the subconscious. You can use it to create your future, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I do that every morning. I kind of attach myself to the energy of the future, which is what's pulls it in when I'm constantly seeing myself, in this, with everything that I'm envisioning, that
Uh.
energy is there. So you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
connecting. I believe there's various different versions of me, and whatever you want this reality to be is how
Mm-hmm.
you hold your energy. And so,
Mm.
because not only are you going to act, they always say act as if, like with the, act as if you are that person. Well, if you feel as if, there's no acting needed.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's like, it's feeling that. So you're calling it in. So you're doing, in meditation with the future aspect of it, you're creating a beacon to the universe, right? So if you're in a ship and it's going down, the first thing you do is put on that beacon. I'm in trouble with stress that I need, so, but it's going to take time. If you're way out there for the Coast Guard to get a helicopter or whatever out to you, it can take hours or whatever. It could take a day. Who knows, how long that's going to take. But if your beacon goes down while, the helicopter's halfway there, they're not going to find you. They've lost the signal, and now they have no idea where you are. So the thing with the whole, calling it in and the law of attraction and meditation in terms of creating your future, that's how it's working. You have to constantly keep your beacon going. It's like, well, it's not happening. This isn't working. Well, and now it's not going to work because your beacon is now shut down, and now it can't find you. So and creating those feelings of who you want to be is also, you're going to act like that person. You're going to make decisions and choices as if you were that person, which is also pulling in what you want. Okay. So these are all things, meditation, we can go lots of different ways with meditation. I know we're nearing the end here, but these are all things that we can certainly get into, but that's that whole attracting, and that's healing too, is attracting the person that you want to be. And we have to trust the law of attraction like we trust the law of gravity, right? Like it's the law of attraction. It's not the theory of attraction. It is the law of attraction. And what you're attracting is, I wouldn't go up to a cliff and look down and be like, well, maybe this time I'll float away. Like, I trust the law of gravity. I trust it completely, 100%. I trust the law of gravity. So it's the same thing with the law of attraction, and is creating that person that we want to be and calling that in and just trusting that it's on its way. I like to say, don't chase the waiter. You're not going to go out, you're not going to place an order at a restaurant, and immediately, you place an order and then you go tap the waiter on the shoulder and be like, where's my order? Well, you just placed it. It's coming. Don't worry about it. You have faith that you've placed that order. They're back there cooking on it, and it will come out when it comes when it's ready. Yep. And so you can't chase the waiter. So that's another thing. I have to remind myself. It's not even telling other people. I have to remind myself. It's like, don't chase the waiter. You've placed your order, and now you're just letting it unfold, right? Like, let it unfold. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it'd also be kind of important to, say respect the waiter too, because they can definitely tell the kitchen staff to do stuff to your food that you don't want happening. Yeah.
Don't chase definitely respect too.
Yeah. And I mean, it's that whole technology is helping us not embrace the wait. It's all about I hit refresh on this page and that website better be loaded in half a second nowadays. I remember whenever the internet first came about and it was widespread, it was I would go to any MySpace, and it'd be all right, I'm going to go do some chores while it loads, and then come back and then all right, cool.
We are of the same age, that is for sure. Yeah. It's ruined our attention spans. It's ruined a lot of people's attention spans, which is very hard to be marketing a book, because especially a book that I'd like younger males to read, because it's I had to write it in a way that was funny and entertaining and try to keep people focused. But even that is really difficult, because it's the Instagram and everything. It's just 2 seconds. Nope. And it's really screwed with our, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can, the people that are overusing it have really rewired their brain in not a good way. It can be rewired back, but it takes effort. It takes effort to rewire it back. There's always healing. There's, you can't, no one is hopeless and ruined, but it takes effort, and it's uncomfortable at first whenever you're rewiring your brain back to something, whether it's getting off drugs or trying to use the phone less. You're it's like a thought trail. You're a trail that's well trodden. That's you get on a trail out and hike, and it's there's a trail that's very clear and obvious. And when you get off the trail, there's you get prickers in your feet, and there's trees in the way, and it's but that's what you're doing, is you're getting off your trail, and it usually takes a machete, and it takes a lot of effort, and you have to, that first time is really tough. You do it again, it's a little bit, but you keep doing it, and then that trail becomes the trail more taken. But the other trail is always there. That's the thing. You've made that trail, so that's the same with addiction. For that trail is is still there. It takes a long time for that vegetation to grow back and, like to not become a trail anymore. But it becomes easier, when the fork is in the road to take the, once you create that other trail, you can
Hmm.
easily follow. That's what I didn't like about the whole powerless thing is that's just not true. Like you
Nope.
come to a point, and, you've relapsed. Okay, well, you have the power. You've created, if you've gotten sober, you've created a new thought trail. You've created a new
Hmm.
trail and rewired your brain. But that old trail is there. And when you
Hmm.
relapse, you're at a fork in the road. You are not powerless. You can choose which road to continue to go down because you've created a new one, and it gets easier. It's kind of hard for a little bit, but then you're like, oh, okay, this is this. I remember doing that. I remember being sober. This is good, and
Uh-huh.
everything comes back relatively quickly.
Hmm.
Other than the first time getting it, it takes a lot of effort, and it's like, God, this.
Yeah.
But once it's there, and
Hmm.
you face a relapse, well, that's still there, and like man, it's gonna suck for about a week or so. Like getting
Hmm.
off. If you've been drinking for 3 or 4 weeks, and like you've been drinking straight. Well, that first week is not fun, and but that trail is there, and then it's like, okay, all right, now
Yeah.
it's so you're never powerless. I just totally disagree with that.
Yeah. Thank you for reiterating that because I 100% agree with you. That is one thing I really dislike about AA's 12 steps is because in my whole recovery journey, I've come to find out that I have a lot more power than I ever thought I did. And so being powerless, I was still like, why is this feeding me the same shit that got me here in the first place? Real quick, where can people find you and your book?
Yeah, so it's awakenthesorcerer.com. It's also on Amazon. You can order it on there. And if you don't like reading, I recorded it on audio, which is a lot of fun because I get to tell my own jokes and I do voices in it and I make it really fun. Because I know a lot of people, it's hard to sit down and read a book. So I
Hmm.
totally get it. So it's on Amazon Audible. I think it's on Spotify too. It's on the website. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, audio and then the book and oh, the Instagram. I always forget to mention it. Help me get my followers up. I'm just starting out. Like I have like, and I always forget to mention it. I forget back on, but it's sorcerer with a U _13. Uh,
Okay.
I'll be trying to get more active on there. It's hard because again, that's rewiring, right? I'm so used to
Hmm.
not doing it that like I don't
Yeah.
I forget that it's there. But I like connecting with people and I like hearing from people. So
Huh.
I need to get better at it. I'm still working on things here, but those are the ways. Oh, if you want to copy the book for free, and I will send you a PDF if
Okay.
you don't mind reading on a computer, and my email, or if you just want to chat. I like hearing from people. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Sorcerer13 at Gmail. No underscore. Underscore for the Instagram, no underscore for the
Gmail.
email. Gmail. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Sweet. Thank you for highlighting all that for us, Justin, because it's one of those things that recovery does take a group effort in a sense. I think it is something that we need a little bit of community with it, and we can also do it on our own, but sometimes we just don't know how to create that first path. And it's great that you have this out there. And I mean, I'm looking forward to our next conversation because like you said, we just found the flow state and like we were talking about what we were going to do before the recording, and it's like, all right, let's talk about the rungs. And it's like, all right, we spent all this episode on one and a little bit on
Mhm.
two.
Yeah, just getting warmed up for two. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and I believe that when you're in a flow state, so that felt about like 15 minutes. It
Yeah.
is my belief that we aged only 15 minutes in this last
Huh.
hour because the hour felt like about 15 minutes for me. So it is my belief that we aged only 15 minutes. So let's
Huh.
go with that.
That's really cool. I like that. I'm
Uh,
gonna have to play with that.
yeah, find your flow state because that
Yeah.
is my belief that when we're in those times where it's just like, oh my gosh, time just flew. Like if you're talking with a friend,
Huh.
I think you only age the amount of time that you feel. That is
Huh.
my belief.
That's really cool. Cause I mean, I'm sure you've had this moment where like you're sitting there like at school and you're doing a test or whatever, and you look up at the clock and you're like, all right, 2 seconds has passed, and then you finally see the second hand go boop, and you're like, yeah.
Yep. Yep. There's times that it really slows down too, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think when it speeds up, I think we're de-aging ourselves.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to run with that idea because I like it a lot.
Do it, yeah, yeah. And it makes sense to me. So
Yeah.
like, find your
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah, find your flow. And I mean, I think everyone can find it using your sorcery book. And I just gotta say thank you again, Justin, because this episode has just been amazing. Do you got any last words for the people out there that are watching this for the first time?
I love leaving it with, I don't know if I left it with last time or not, but I'll say it again because it's really important. So for people like me, living life as, let's say, live life like it's your last day, right? Well,
Mm.
for someone like me, my last day, if it's my last day on earth, the shadow is probably going to run amok. I will probably wake up. I won't do my yoga and meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably start drinking. I'll end up at a bar, and I might rob a pharmacy. I don't know. It's my it's my last day. Who knows what's going to happen? It's my last day. So I feel like that's terrible advice. If you start living life like it's your first day,
Mm.
now you are building something towards the future. You're
Uh-huh.
building that towards the future, and that childlike wonderment of being your first day. I mean, imagine what that feels like if you just popped into the simulation as an adult, just boom, like
Huh.
what would what would that be
Yeah.
like if you just
Yeah.
as an adult you just popped into the simulation, like might happen, I don't know, but it's just think about what that would be like and the wonderment
Mm-hmm.
you'd have with the world. And curiosity is a first step towards healing. Get curious
Mm-hmm.
about both other people and the world. If you're
Mm-hmm.
curious about someone, they can't get to you.
Yeah.
If you're, wow, this person is really pissing me off right now, what are they going through, and you start asking questions, it'll
Mm-hmm.
lessen what you're feeling. So get
Huh.
curious. First day, not last day.
I love that. Oh man, get curious and act like it's your first day in the simulation. I'm
Yeah.
going to have to use that for myself.
No, it helps me a ton. So that's what I
Yeah.
like to share with people.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Justin. And again, thank you for just writing the book and doing what you do to help bring recovery to everyone, and especially young men, because we definitely need it. Everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And as always, try to love yourself, love others if you can, but you got to love yourself first. And we'll see y'all in the next episode. But if you're having a mental health crisis, you can call 988. And if you're in the LGBTQ plus community, you can dial the Trevor Project up in Canada. And if you don't feel like calling, you can always text 741-741. And I mean, just try to be your best version of your favorite version of yourself. There we go. And we'll see y'all in the next episode. Much love. Sean.